we started writing for Oblivion Beckons, and then during that writing process is when the band like broke up internally without everybody knowing it, because we went into the studio knowing that we were breaking up. It was a very Fleetwood Mac style recording session where I would come into the studio, Tony would stay away, and then we would schedule Tony, and then I would get out because we didn't want to be around each other.
Oh.
Yeah.
Welcome to Creepalachia. I don't know if anyone knew this, but I'm a metalhead at heart, and it is a monumental time again for the studio because I have Chris Ojeda from Byzantine, the metal gods of West Virginia, Appalachia, really. You all in Lamb of God, which we're going to get into, that you all used to tour together and all that good stuff. But thank you for being here, sir.
You're welcome, JD. We're old friends. Yeah. Anytime you call, it's like E.F. Hutton. I always listen. Yeah.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
So where do we start? Tell me about where you grew up. I mean, I know it, but the people may not. So let's just start from the beginning.
So I was born in Man, West Virginia, 1975, which carbon dates me at 50 now. But I was raised in Chapmanville, West Virginia. I lived there until I was 18, and then moved to Waco, Texas for a year to go to my first year of college, which was at Baylor University. And then that didn't work out. I came back the next year, went to Swivic, which is Southern West Virginia Community College for all us Logan County people. And then ended up finishing my degree at Morgantown, West Virginia, which is
Go Ears.
West Virginia Mountaineers. So all of my life, minus 1 year, 49 years, I have been a resident of West Virginia. But as well as I do, West Virginia is one of the only places in the world that when you run into another West Virginian out of that state, they don't ask you what city you're from. They ask you what county.
Yep.
So I am from Logan County.
Logan County, one of the heart and soul counties of West Virginia, in my opinion. Just so much history there. What was life growing up like for you?
My dad was a coal miner, always was working in the coal mines. So I was actually, had a decent upbringing. My parents were rad. They were always very supportive of me playing music or doing arts, being in sports. They kept me and my two brothers very active in that. I grew up in a town that only had like 1,200 people. So you knew everybody. There was only 2 grade schools. So I had friends all over, Chapmanville, up every holler. It was a very safe time growing up in the late 70s, early 80s. I could get on my bike and just take off until dusk, and my parents wasn't freaking out. So I think I had a very #blessed upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of coal miners, you kind of raised poor. I didn't know we had money, but my dad was very good at saving, and he would work holidays to make sure he made that triple pay. So we always had a nice house, and it was, nice cars and stuff like that. But I mean, if I wanted He-Man, I could get one. You know what I mean? I wasn't like spoon fed. They kept it pretty tight, but my upbringing was pretty awesome.
Good deal. So he had a union job. I heard triple pay in there. So
oh yeah, he had a union job. My whole family's all union. I've got 4 uncles, and my dad. All of them except one was lifelong coal miners. My peepaw, who came here from Mexico, was a coal miner. He laid track by hand. So my family's got probably 120 years in the union, just my grandfather and my uncles alone. So I was always taught, to respect coal miners. Anytime you see anybody wearing a reflective gear, they're busting their for you. Don't cross the picket line, stuff like that. So
heck yeah. I was a surface coal miner and I was union for 7.5 years. So that's really important to me. I mean, I love all coal miners, but union was my thing because that's when I made the most money and had insurance and all that good stuff.
True.
But to each their own. But so when was your first instrument a guitar? When did that come into play? Or sometimes, it's piano.
Yeah. So my first instrument was a guitar. I was left-handed, so I didn't have access to a left-handed guitar at that time. So I had friends that were in junior high that had guitars, and I would play theirs upside down. And
the Jimi Hendrix.
Pretty much. Yeah, the Jimi Hendrix. And then my first actual guitar was a bass. Because my friends that I was hanging out with in junior high, we were in 9th grade, they would hang out with me on the baseball field, and then I'd get to go hang out with my metalhead friends and skate and stuff. But they started the band, and there was already 2 guitar players, and it was either going to be me and another buddy had to pick between bass and singing. I did not want to sing at all. Neither did he. We both wanted to be bass players, which is weird. So we had to have a bass off, and I didn't have an instrument. So I'd asked my mom, if she could save up some money and come to Pied Piper in Charleston and get me a bass. And she's like, yeah, but it's going to be a couple months. But she had just bought a refrigerator for our double wide. I took the thick cardboard and cut me out a cardboard bass and wrote frets on it. And then I had a friend of mine I skated with who was a little bit more rougher than I was, and he would steal. And I got him to steal me the tablature book for And Justice for All.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I immediately went to work on my cardboard bass, learning the And Justice for All songs. So by the time I actually got my bass, I already knew To Live Is to Die, Harvester of Sorrow, parts of One before I'd ever touched it.
Yeah.
So then we had the bass off, and I already knew these songs. And I won the position. So that was how I got into playing music.
How old were you?
I was, what 9th grade.
Oh, nice.
That'd be like 15, 16, something like that.
That's around the same time I got into it. It's funny you mentioned And Justice for All. That's the first album that I learned about Metallica. And that's an interesting one to learn bass from because they literally mixed and turned down all the bass.
Yeah.
So you don't really hear you're like, yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Because that was around the time. So Cliff Burton died, and then Jason in the bus wreck, and Jason Newsted came in, and I guess they were just bitter or something, and they decided to turn the bass all the way down. Which
is odd because that wasn't the first recording with Jason Newsted. The first recording they did with Newsted was the 598 EP.
Oh, wow. Okay.
With Helpless, The Weight.
Yeah.
That was the precursor to working on And Justice, and that sound freaking awesome. And there's bass.
Yeah.
And then they go into the studio and they turn his bass completely off, which is weird.
Yeah. Which is great. I mean, Master Puppets is one of the greatest albums of all time, in my opinion. And then it sounds so much better than And Justice for All, although I love a lot of And Justice for All songs. And then they just get back to normal with the Black Album. Sounds great again. It's just a weird time, but how interesting. All right. So you have the bass off. What was your first band? When did you start? Like, what was the name?
We had a name with that band before we even started.
Gotcha.
We had a plan. Our band was called Insane Mind. And we were one, not minds, we were one collective insane mind. We were already tagging the bridges down in Chapmanville with the logo. We already had the I with the anarchy and then the M, and they were slanted like Metallica. So that dotted a couple different DOT landmarks down there in the 80s or 90s.
I guess they're not still around.
No.
And you were even Union, Insane Mind. It's a group. So that's perfect.
Oh, shoot.
Did you do covers or did you start writing songs?
So the first show we did was we started it in 9th grade, and then by the time I was in 10th grade, we were ready to perform. So we had our eyes set on the high school talent show. Our drummer and our singer was seniors, and me and the 2 guitar players were freshmen. So we played one original, which half of it I stole from Pantera off the Cowboys from Hell album. It hadn't blown up, so nobody in the band had heard it yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to backtrack on how I stole this.
Sure, go ahead.
And then we played a DRI song and an Overkill song, and that was our first show. Was DRI, Overkill, and an original Insane Mind / Pantera song. And the whole population of the school flooded into the gymnasium to watch the talent show. Talent shows were a big thing then, and I just got such a rush. I was like, "Yep, this is what I want to do."
So people enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, I still got the VHS tape. There was a lot of screaming, and I mirrored myself after. I was always a good mimicker. I still am. That's how I sing. I changed my voice to sound like I'm from somewhere else, but I wanted to be Frank Bello from Anthrax. So I had long black hair. I had my mom permit. And then I had the foot stomp, the dance. So I basically just got on stage and acted like Frank Bello, and it worked. It fooled them.
That's perfect. I mean, one of the hardest things I found, because I was in a few little bands, but we played at our prom.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the hardest things I think you can do in music is to play and sing at the same time.
Yeah.
And not only that, you're playing, well now especially, the past 20 years, some really technical stuff. So how did you learn to do that early on? Was that ever an issue for you? I know it still is an issue for me.
Still is an issue.
Really?
Yeah, still is an issue. That is kind of why I no longer really do it in the band. But to start out back then, all the way back in 91, where I was just the bass player, or singer, he liked the girls, so we would have practice and he would miss practice here and there. Happens when you're 18, it's hard to stay focused on something, but I was laser focused on music. So I never missed a practice. Up to this day, from 91 to now, I've probably maybe have missed 3 practices in my whole career.
Oh, wow.
30 years. I love it.
Yeah.
So I would show up and nobody would be there to sing. So I would just kind of jump on the mic and sing. And I realized I can do both at the same time and do it okay. So once he kind of exited, then I started singing. And then as every band broke up and I started a new one, I just basically took the singing role, because a singer is one of the singer and a drummer, 2 hardest things to really find, especially in West Virginia. So I was just always the singer and either bass player. I had another band where I was the singer and the drummer. I did the Phil Collins thing for a couple years.
Nice.
And it kind of helped me develop the skill to be able to cut my corpus callosum in half and focus on guitar, vocals. But then once we started Byzantine, it got much more complicated. So then I had to really put some time into it. Some of the songs that we have written, it gives me fits. Like I have traumatic experiences playing some of them live and singing.
Really?
Yeah. Just it's a very difficult thing. You want to get up on stage, you want to play the best you can, you want to sing the best you can, and then I'm forgetting words or I'm missing a note. And I'm a rhythm guitar player at heart. Like, that's my bread and butter. So when I would miss parts, I would get furious at myself.
Sure.
So now I'm at the point where I'm like, I think I'm holding this band back, being the singer and the front man. So that is why we've brought back Tony Rohrbaugh into Byzantine, and now we're a 5-piece, and now I'm able to just focus on singing and connecting with people. But yeah, it's definitely a very difficult skill to master.
Well, with Harbingers, I can tell, like, and I love all the albums, but it sounds 2005 Byzantine. I mean, it sounds like a lot of the old rhythms and stuff that you used to do.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you started off playing bass, because I can hear that in the way a lot of the songs are structured, because you use the guitar as a rhythmic machine for all these different patterns you're doing. And that's what set itself apart is, for one, you went from, which we'll get into Byzantine in a second, but from fundamental component to the next album, you did something with your voice. I don't know if it was in the mix or what, to where it was like it clicked. It was like, that's the sound.
Yeah. The second album, which is And They Shall Take Up Serpents.
Heck yeah.
That is the album that a lot of fans of our band look back at, like at our benchmark, or if not the benchmark, like the catapult to where we got into the global scene away from just the region. And some of it had to do with my voice. I was able to really put the time in. We worked really hard between the first album and the second album practicing, and I was able to develop my singing style a little bit more. Also, the first album, I hate my vocals on because I was sick throughout the vocal session. I actually had a reunion the week before I started doing vocals on our first album. I had a reunion with my guys who were in the first band, Insane Mind.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And they came to Charleston, and 2 of them got drunk. And we had another friend that was hanging out with us at that time. And the friend and one of the guys got wicked drunk and started fighting. And we were at the Sound Factory in Charleston.
Uh-oh.
And I said, guys, we got to get out of this bar. We got to take this outside. We got to calm it down. It spilled out to where we were rolling down into the Canal River. So the fight ended up down on the rocks on the Canal River. I, like a dumbass, I never wore boots. So I bought like motorcycle boots to try to look cool in front of my friends.
Right.
And they were these big high boots, and we're on these rocks, and I'm trying to break my 2 friends up. Both of them are bigger than me, and they're just wailing at each other. We fall into the Canal River. My boots completely fill up with river water.
Goodness.
So the whole night, we don't go home. Like, we calm down, go back out, freaking drink. So I'm walking around in wet ass shoes. So I get a wicked like cold from that. You know what I mean? And then we go in and record the vocals on the fundamental component. That's why it sounds like
I mean, it sounds great. It just sounds, there's not a weight there.
It does not
like
sound
the vocals later. I mean, and arguably
okay.
that kicked off, I mean, your following, and then allowed you off because did you sign with, was it Prosthetic? Okay. Did you sign with them before that?
Prior to that.
Okay. Gotcha.
We had actually recorded, there's 2 versions of our first album. There's the Broadmoor demo, which we recorded in Huntington at Broadmoor Studios. It is the fundamental component. It's the first version. Every song in the same order. And my vocals are way better. Way better. Like real hardcore fans who go on Bandcamp, they can buy that. They all know when they listen to that and hear those songs, they're like, shit, that's what you sounded like? Because it was real caustic. And then Chris Adler from Lamb of God got us signed to Prosthetic. So then they said, well, let's go ahead and just re-record those 9 songs, and that'll be your debut album. So we re-recorded it in Charleston with Aaron Fisher. Here I fall in the river from the fight, go up there, can't sing. And that is also why there is 2 guest vocalists on that album singing along with me.
Mhm.
Jeff Ellis, who is now a very prolific, well-known singer-songwriter. He sings 2 of the choruses on that album. And then another kid that was just hanging out on the couch jumped in and sang one because I was struggling so bad. Our engineer said, I bet old boy over here can sing it. And I was like,
Perfect.
whatever, bring him in here. But he can't. And he comes in and nails it. And I was just defeated. I was just like, get this session over with. So the difference between that and Serpents was night and day. Also, that's when I developed really what I call shouting in key.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where you're singing really heavy, but you're singing notes. And that's what I've been trying to do the whole time since then.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
It's so unique. And it's like how Randy Blythe is unique on the way he does things. Like you really developed a unique way to shout into the microphone. Yeah. So let's step back a little bit. So Insane Mind, unfortunately, breaks up. Yeah. What was next after that? What was the next effort?
So Insane Mind, the plan was to go to Texas and become the next Pantera.
Mm-hmm.
That was the plan. Our guitar player, his dad lived in Texas, and he said, Ojeda, if you go to college in Texas, we'll follow you. And I was like, all right. So, and against my parents' wishes of going to State or Marshall, I only applied to Texas schools, and I got into Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
So I told my parents, I'm going to Baylor. I'm going to be a rock star. We're going to be so much closer to Pantera. Right. It's going to rub off on me. So I go out there, and for a year, I flunk out of damn near every class. I had no idea how smart you had to be to go to Baylor University.
Yeah.
My Chapmanville math skills was not on point. Also, I wasn't focusing,
Right.
My band drove out, came out, stayed for a week, and they got homesick and drove right back home. And I was so furious. I was so mad. So after that year, I came home, licked my wounds, and then that band was done. And then I started the 2-man band, which was called Insane Minds.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So with plural.
Yes, and I jumped on drums and was singing, and then I enlisted a friend of mine, Brian Stallings, I grew up with in Chapmanville, to play guitar and sing. And that is how we broke into the Charleston music scene, which at that time was huge in Nitro. The LKM Auditorium, the Pit, they were getting shows on the weekends, 300 to 400 kids a night. And we was hearing about it through the Graffiti. Do you remember the Graffiti magazine in West Virginia?
I don't remember.
It was a publication, and it was in every state or every city, and it told you every concert that was happening. And it was fantastic. So we would get the Graffiti and see that, there's metal bands playing here, metal bands playing there. And so we would go to Charleston, and that's how we broke into that scene as a 2-man band. And that's the scene I've been in, for the last 30 years.
Heck yeah. I remember, was it the Monkey Bar in Huntington? Was that a place?
Mm-hmm.
And there's the only place I ever played, there was a bar called Fuel in Morgantown. And then we played the Rocket Club in Bluefield. I don't know if you know about that one. That was a really small trailer that used to be a strip club. That turned into, and then, if you had 5 people come out, they all were your friends, but we had a good time,
That sounds fun.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It was a good time, but no, this is so interesting. So Insane Minds eventually has a downfall.
No, Insane Minds actually goes from being a 2-piece to being a 4-piece.
Okay.
we enlist a bass player that we grew up with named Chris Adams. We called him Sid. And then we got a drummer from Fairmont named Jeremy Freeman. And we released 2 demos while I was at WVU under the name New Family. We changed from Insane Minds to New Family.
That's wholesome.
Very wholesome.
Yeah.
We were trying to play off of the Mexican cartel gang, Nuestra Familia. And then we were like, oh, we're going to call it New Family. And we used the same logo and everything.
Yeah.
My dumb, I should have known that does not mean New Family. New Family is Nueva Familia. So
okay.
I would tell people like, yeah, kind of like the Mexican gang. And they'd be like, no, okay. But we did that. We weren't good. We weren't a good band. We played for 2 years in Morgantown, but it was the precursor to Byzantine.
Mm-hmm.
So now I am skipping one band. When I was in Baylor for that year, I joined the band out there called, oh God, what were we called? I can't remember, but we had David Koresh's silhouette on our shirts.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, because our guitar player was David Koresh's guitar player.
What?
Yes. When I flew out there, it was in 93, the summer of 93.
Oh man,
it was 1 month after
Branch Davidian.
1 month after the Branch Davidian compound got raided by the ATF. So when my plane landed out there for my freshman year of college, it was still smoking. ATF was everywhere. The town was locked down pretty much. It's kind of like the movie Footloose. Like you couldn't dance, you couldn't, you know what I mean? Like they had it locked down.
Right.
So one of the things my mom told me, because at that time that was like a worldwide news event, that this man who thought he was the second coming of Jesus was going to, bring upon us like the Armageddon, and then the government infiltrated and killed all these people, and a lot of religious people thought, oh, this is the end, this is where things are going to turn. So my mom is like, whatever you do not get involved in any Branch Davidians. And I'm like, Mom, what are you talking about? They're all dead. The first thing I do is get involved with the Branch Davidians. I put a flyer out at the Waco Mall.
Wow.
I was looking for a band, and a guy named Eddie Goins, Goins, contacted me and said that he was looking for a new band. He had lost his full stack in the fire. He got out about a week before the raid happened, and he played with a drummer named David Thibodeau, who also got out. And then I think the rest of the band all died. So he's like, I'm starting a new band. We've got record label interest. People know me in Texas. I'm a bad mofo. And he was. And so we played around Texas for a while. And, after that, I was like, I got to get back.
Did you ever ask him questions? Like, hey, man, like about the past year?
Yeah, I asked him a lot of questions. I was like, did you ever see like kids getting molested or anything like that?
Yeah.
And he was like, no. Everybody loved Dave. He said Dave was an awesome dude. He said, I left the week before that because I got privy to the stockpiling of guns. He said, the rest of the religious bullshit, he said, it didn't faze me because Dave paid me to come out here and play music.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And he said, he never even pushed it on me. He was like, we're going to just jam. And he said, Dave was a great guitar player. He loved heavy metal, and he thought he was Christ.
Yep. Yeah. Literally. Yeah.
And I thought, to be honest, I thought Eddie was lying the whole time. Right. I thought he was lying because he was a big bullshit. But then one morning he woke me up on a Saturday and he was like, Ojeda, turn on channel 9. I was like, what? Why? Just turn it on. Shut up. I was like, okay, now turn it on. And there's a Maury Povich special going on called Tragedy in Waco. And they had like David Thibodeau and a bunch of the other Branch Davidians that got out. And there was Eddie with his wife in the crowd. And I was like, holy crap, he's not lying. And then Maury Povich turns around to Eddie and starts talking to him about Dave. And I was like, this is real. Like, I need to get away from this.
Yeah, that's a little too close. And the saddest part is all those kids that died in that fire. I mean, it's just so sad.
Awful. Awful situation.
So, all right. So how did that fizzle out? You were just like, I'm kind of done.
You know, I told them that, you know, I had my blood alcohol level was higher than my GPA. And I was like, I got to go back home. Like, I'm going to fail out here. So he was like, all right, well, I hope you do well with your career, whatever career you're going to have in West Virginia. Yeah. So I think it's turned out okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, and we're kind of, well, at least I know I felt this way. You're kind of trained to be like, well, if you're going to be around here, you know, get your mining card. Mm-hmm. Good luck if you don't go to college. And I always just felt like, well, no, I kind of can paint my own path and figure things out. And thankfully it did. But, you're kind of trained to think that. But I think what you all were able to do is, like I've been saying, like, not big fish, little pond, but kind of. Mm-hmm. It's like you have your chance to make your mark and to make people proud to be from here. And that's what I felt listening to the music. It was just always so cool hearing y'all come on the radio when I'd be hauling coal. And I'm like, oh, yeah, there we go. So, I mean,
everybody's got to start somewhere. Everybody's got to start out as a big fish in a little pond before you get to the next big pond and become a little fish again.
I love it. Well, so, all right, you come back. How did you think of how did you start forming what would ultimately become Byzantine?
Well, we had, as New Family, we had recorded our third demo, and it started turning real technical, but still a lot of groove laden in there. We were getting away from the thrash.
Who was your inspirations at the time? Do you remember?
At that time, a lot of Pantera, a lot of Exhorder. I learned of Exhorder when I was in Waco, Texas, because they're from Louisiana, New Orleans. And Exhorder overtook Pantera for me as my inspiration for how I wrote music and specifically how I sang, because Exhorder's singer, Kyle Thomas, is the master of shouting in key. There's no one that's ever done it better in heavy metal, full stop. So, and if anybody's watching this and you don't know who Exhorder or Kyle Thomas is, hit pause right now, go to YouTube or whatever, and just search Kyle Thomas, and you can hear his voice, and you'll be like, oh, that's where OJ gets it.
That's cool.
Yeah. Testament had always been a big influence, but at this time, which was early 1999, early 2000, started getting big into Opeth.
Oh man.
And Meshuggah. And that's where things turned into a Byzantine.
I hear all that.
Yeah.
Opeth is metal Mozart's. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just Meshuggah is more of a rhythmic, like there's nobody that does rhythm like Meshuggah, but it's one of those things that's like you either love it or you don't really listen to it. It's kind of it's kind of different, but I love them both. But
they're both masters of their craft of what they do, but those don't interlock. Meshuggah doesn't do Opeth stuff. Opeth really doesn't do Meshuggah stuff.
No.
So what I was specifically trying to do was figure out a way to chain those two together, but still have that Pantera Exhorder groove in the middle. And that ended up that Venn diagram of those bands is what I think ended up becoming the Byzantine sound.
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah, I hear all of those.
So I'm not lying on that.
Yeah, no, that's so freaking cool to hear that. So, all right. So you start getting a little technical. When did you just decide, like, we need to change this name? New Family's not working.
Yeah. So New Family kind of broke up. There was yet another fist fight.
Which is pretty regular with bands.
Regularly. I mean, when you're young and you're doing a lot of drinking and not drinking good beer, you're just drinking to get drunk. There's fist fights. So that band ended with me getting punched between my eyes one night. Yeah, we all lived together, and the guitar player decided, he got mad at me and took a crow hop. If you don't know what a crow hop is, in baseball, you take a big hop and a skip to throw really far. So he took a crow hop and hit me right between my eyes. Jesus. And luckily, I had been, the last 2 years before that, I had been boxing at Simon's Gym in Morgantown.
Right.
And entering tough man contests. So I was used to getting hit at that point. So right when he hit me, I decided to duck my head just a couple inches so he could hit me here, and he shattered the bones in his hand, so he couldn't play guitar no more. And then I was like, I don't think we can be friends anymore, man. This is not a good situation. So we kind of, what we decided to do was just not kick him out, but me and the bass player and the drummer decided to just start a whole new band.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking for a band name, and I was going, I love to use Roger's thesaurus to help me write lyrics. I always have. I'll write lyrics that'll be a little bit more bass, and then I will go and try to find a synonym or maybe even an antonym to spruce it up. So I knew our music was a little complicated. So I was like, I'm going to look up what complicated means and find a synonym. And Byzantine was one of the synonyms. I was like, well, I know of the Byzantine Empire. I know it was a massive empire that succeeded the Roman Empire. Why is it complicated? So then I started researching, and it was all about their judicial system, to which we still use a lot of that today in American judicial systems, the Byzantine judicial system. So I was like, not Google. I can't remember what it was on back in 2000, but it was
probably Yahoo.
Yeah, or something that I had to wait 10 minutes to look.
Yeah.
But no band was named Byzantine. So I was like, that's it. That's our name. And then I had been headhunting Tony Rohrbaugh for years. And he had just finished playing in the band Chum, who was signed to Century Media at that time. And he wasn't playing with anybody. And I had been a fan of Tony's for forever. He was in a local band called Temper, Temper, that were head and shoulders better than any metal band in West Virginia at that time of what they did.
Right.
So I was like, got a hold of Tony and asked him if he would love to start a band with myself and my friends. He said, sure. I live in Huntington though. And I was like, boom. Hang up, Mom, I'm moving back home. So I packed my and I moved back down to Logan County.
Back to West by God.
That lasted about a month. I ended up in Charleston. Yeah, it didn't last very long. I ended up in Charleston, and then we started Byzantine now that I had Tony and the other two guys from New Family.
Heck yeah. Did you already have songs written that you were going to put in Fundamental Component, or did you have like half of it done, or?
I had maybe 2 songs written, and then there was also a song on And They Shall Take Up Serpents that was a New Family song that we brought back and
repurposed.
Yeah. So I had a few, but I really didn't want to rehash too much of that. I wanted to write with Tony Rohrbaugh as soon as I could.
Sure.
And once him and I started writing together and started getting Tony's odd jazzy stuff and his ominous godflesh feel mixed with my technical groove, that was the Byzantine, like click.
Yeah. Have you had, it sounds like it happened there, but have you had band members where you're like simpatico? It's just like a relationship. You just know. And I know when I would play with people, I would think something and they would do it like right around that time. And it just is a connection.
Yeah. I think one of the greatest that I had up to that point was Tony, because he was head and shoulders more theoretical than I was. I was more of a boneheaded, like, let's bend this note until it sounds weird type thing. And he knew the modes. And so being able to bounce my obtuseness, my obtuse riffs off him, and him tell me like, oh, that is this Phrygian, let's devolve that into this. And I'd be like, oh, I would have never went there. That was real good simpatico. And then the next time it happened is when we got Matt Wolf into the band, who was our drummer. Me and Matt clicked like peanut butter and jelly.
I tell you what, I believe a drummer is probably, other than the singer, is someone who sets the tone of the band more than anyone else. And when you walk into a room of a good drummer, everyone just stops and watches, because it's just so, I don't know, it's just so important especially for metal.
Yeah, and it's the most visual.
Yeah.
Like to see a really good hard rock or metal drummer just completely own the drum set is a sight to behold.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of working musicians out there who you watch them and you're like, oh man, he's in a great band. You can see him kind of working hard, you know, but then every once in a while you see somebody back there just they're thinking about their laundry. They're just killing it. Yeah. Now Matt wasn't like that type of drummer.
What band was he in before that?
He was in a band from Charleston called West by God.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
He was a guitar player.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. And we had a little, it's kind of a metal band, Keep the Victim Warm, but our drummer, Mike Browning, was just phenomenal.
Was he?
Yeah. And he just...
Shout out to Mikey Browning.
Yeah, Mike and his brother Matt that played, they're just virtuosos. Like when you see people... Me and Matt started playing guitar around the same time, and then I see him 6 months later, and he's doing like these sweep arpeggios, and I can barely play Simple Man.
Yeah,
you know,
you're
just
like,
some people it's just natural.
Yes,
and they're just comfortable. But all right, so the band is formed. What 2 songs did you have wrote? Do you remember?
I know on the second album there's a song called "Pity None" that was written in New Family. And then parts of Hatfield came from New Family.
Okay. Which that was wasn't Stick Figure the single?
And parts of Stick Figure. Yeah. Those 2 songs were 2 of the first ones we put together. Yeah. I to be honest, I think I'm still probably calling riffs from some of those old demos, because there was some stuff back then that had some nuggets of goodness in it, but I just didn't know how to mine it properly. And now I'm able to completely extricate it and be like, oh, I know the transition that needs to go from there.
Yeah.
So.
And your songs, I mean, they have structure, but I've never really felt like, okay, it's verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, you know, which is the kind of music that I love. But what's your process? Do you kind of come up with a riff and then you just build off of that? Like, okay, well, this would sound good as you know, some power chords that'll go good with that riff or whatever. Like, what's your process?
I think my process has always been very consistent. Even back then, before I would say I was an accomplished songwriter. I think now that's about the only thing I would tip my hat towards. I'm not a great singer. I'm not a great guitar player.
Lies.
No. But I think that my strength lies in songwriting. I'm a pretty decent songwriter. But my process has always been, I would start with mouth riffs. So my phone, I have a treasure trove of me going, you know what I mean?
Oh, nice.
So I do my mouth riffs. Most of them are the tempo of my turn signal because I'm in the car doing it a lot. So I think our first album, maybe 6 of the songs was my turn signal BPM, because I'd write down, down.
That's
you know
awesome.
I mean? And then I'd get a new vehicle and it'd be 3 BPMs different. So,
I'm gonna see if they synchronize.
Yeah.
Be driving along and setting a stoplight. Like, oh yeah, I see
there
now.
You go.
It's perfect. Wow.
So I got mouth riffs, and then I love to write lyrics first, which is odd. So I will come up with a lot of just prose. It's just like poetry, cool lines, cool words. And then when I start formulating actual riffs, I will attach a sense of weight to them by adding a song title to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be like, oh, here's a song title that has this feel, that riff has that feel. So I'm going to attach those, and now I'm going to write a song based on that. Now, a lot of people write constantly, and I don't. I always shut it off completely until it's time to write the album. And then I will actually sit down and put a guitar in my hands. So most of it's mouth riffs for years. And then when it's time to release a new album, I'll sit down 4 or 5 months before that and I'll start demoing out the music. And I trust the process. I know the first month of riffs is going to be utter dog shit. And it used to frustrate me, but now I know. I'm like, okay, just push that out, clear the lines. And after I do that, then the good stuff start flowing. So I'll demo out for a little bit, for a month or so. And then once it starts going, I can normally write a Byzantine album in like 3 months.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. And luckily now I have other guys who write alongside me. So now it's like a best riff wins.
Was it just you early on writing the songs?
It was it was
the initial concept of the song.
The initial concept, I would come up with it. Tony wrote a song or two on the first album and the second album. Matt Wolf was a big contributor, our drummer. He would write on guitar as well. So we had like a 3-headed snake going on.
Right.
But I would kind of write the majority of the stuff. Then when those guys departed, it was more on my shoulders. So we had one album called 2 Releases to Resolve. It came out in 2015 that I wrote the entirety of, start to finish. And I never want to do that again. That was really difficult.
It's a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Especially, I was going through a divorce at that time. So that album turned out really dark.
Right.
Like if I go back and listen to it, I love it, but it's a dark album. But now with our new bass player, Ryan Postlethwaite, and Tony, and our guitar player, Brian Henderson, I've got multiple writers.
Heck yeah.
And it's super exciting to see what the next Byzantine album is going to be, or EP.
Yeah.
With all these chefs in the cooking.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. And, when you let egos get involved, you miss out on a lot of amazing creative work that could possibly happen. So that's really cool though. So with your lyrics, you bring a lot of Appalachia. Have you always brought Appalachia into your writing? I know like you got Hatfield. I'm assuming that's Hatfield McCoy based.
It is Hatfield McCoy. Redneck War.
Yep.
About the Battle of Blair Mountain. Sin Remover is about surface mining. So back on the first few albums, I did a lot of West Virginia historical writing because I wanted to set a precedent of some type of intelligence in my lyrics. And it was one thing I kind of knew about. So I was like, I don't want to write about something that I'm going to wax on and then somebody's going to shoot, bullet holes through. So
sure. Yep.
I'm raised around coal miners. I know this. So let's write about it. And then I've slacked off on that recently. Now I fancy writing about aliens and fantasy stuff and just cool now.
Yeah, I mean, it gets depressing if you get too serious, but I mean,
yeah, and then you become that band who only sings about that topic, and I didn't want to be that.
Sure, yeah. Well, I know personally, I loved hearing things that I could relate to. I can't remember which song it is, but I remember the lyric, "These West Virginia hills don't sedate me."
That's Hatfield.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, it's kind of like about, people being raised in Appalachia. There tends to be this stigma of, oh, well, they're going to be a drug addict. They're going to be this or they're going to be that. But things are way more complicated than that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, winters are rough around here. People get depressed sometimes.
Yeah. But when we play that song live, it's like the crowd always sings those lyrics back, especially that line. You know, I talk about huff and gas in that song. And I do that from experience,
Yeah.
The line go back down there. There's a section here, all the way down. The big breakdown. So the lines are excuses are just tools of incompetence used to build monuments of nothingness, and those who specialize in the uses seldom achieve anything but excuses. So crowds love singing that.
Sure, yeah.
And people were like, how did you come up with that? That's brilliant. Well, I didn't. Half of that, the first two lines, I learned when I had to take Alcohol Anonymous.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was in AA when I was at college at WU.
Mm-hmm.
So I got my first DUI before I was even in WU. I think the second week I was up there, I got a DUI. So the school, they were like, since you got it on campus grounds, we need you to, you already spent your time in jail. We need you to go to AA and do a couple weeks. I was like, oh, crap. I'm not an alcoholic. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I'll go do it. Had to do it. And I remember seeing that on a poster, the excuses. And I was like, if I take anything out of this class, it's going to be those two lines. And I remembered them until we wrote Hatfield, and then I put them in there. And then I wrote the other two kind of to come circle back around.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. Well, that makes it so personal.
Yeah, the most of our songs are extremely personal. Now, the alien ones, unfortunately, are not.
Not personal.
Yeah, yet. I keep going out there and screaming at them to come get me, but they won't.
And we have permission to play all of this. You own your full discography, right? Correct.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Let's play a little bit of Hatfield, and I may hit the pause button.
We can play a little bit.
Yeah, we'll play a little bit. I'm sure it's fun for you to just sit here and listen to yourself. But
yeah, it's great.
I personally love it. Dude, that's so good. Like, I'm gonna fan out for a little bit. It sounds like a freaking horror movie.
Yeah.
But in a rhythmic way. So how do you decide, like, how do you have that conversation of like, all right, guys, I think I'm just gonna hit this high note, and then you hit the drum, and then we'll just do this offbeat thing?
I don't remember. That was that would have been 22 years ago. So I would have been early 30s. I don't know what I was thinking writing some of that stuff. I do remember that backward chord, that those two notes are actually just one note apart from each other, played on different strings, so it gets that really dissonant.
Right.
And I remember hearing that first on the album Destroy, Race, and Prove by Meshuggah. They use that backwards dissonant chord a lot. And it sounded like a radio transmission glitching. And I was like, I gotta steal that.
Yeah.
So
are you a Tool fan?
No.
Which is oddly enough,
everybody says, man, you've got a lot of Tool in your music. And I've never listened to probably more than an hour of Tool.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe we're just drawn from the same stream of consciousness,
sure,
as Tool did. But I do like what I hear, but I've never owned a Tool album.
Patterns are part of music. So, I mean, things are going to be, I don't know how many songs have used the same chords over the years, So you're going to run into that.
You only have so many frets and strings, and everything is math. So everything's divisible, Yeah. After a while, we're all kind of cycling back on top of each other. But the beauty in music is all you got to do is change a couple words or change a pitch of this. And even though the riff might be very similar, you're going to have a completely different feel because of another artist's conception of what the vocal or the bass might do.
Yeah.
Or if you add keys behind this and they're not. So yeah, it's all fair play.
So fun. And I got to hear you, the sick version. I don't think you sound sick, but I got to pay attention really.
Are you on Bandcamp?
Yeah.
Look for the Broadmoor version.
The Broadmoor? I have not heard this, so this is exciting. Broadmoor.
You would have to go right there. Broadmoor demo.
It's right here. Got it.
Now, the snare sounds like the snare off Saint Anger.
So not good?
No, not good. But you know what? We went with it.
Dude, do you ever watch that documentary? That they did when they broke up? Metallica. Well, they didn't break up, but they had that really rough time.
Something monster.
Yes, some kind of monster.
Yeah.
I've
watched it quite a few times.
It's like watching a divorce or something. Yeah. It's just weird. It puts you in an uncomfortable spot, but I'm glad they did it. All right, let's listen to this and see.
Completely different version.
Did you record it again?
No. Released on 2009 on Bandcamp.
Okay.
This was actually released in 2002. The other one was 2004.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the first version of it.
Oh, this ain't the one?
Yeah, this is
this is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, there's a little more treble.
Yeah. Less gain on the guitar. We wanted it to sound like Opeth, even though we didn't sound like Opeth.
Oh, man.
And those vocals are more like a one take. Like I'm singing the whole line,
Right.
So, but yeah.
Dude, is there anything like you, as we age, you're not old, you're aging great, but is there anything you can't play anymore like you used to, or are you still how do you keep your fingers from cramping?
Yeah. No, I can still play everything that we've written. Some of the faster tempo stuff, the stuff that's over 200 BPM, I've had to change the way I attack it on the guitar, especially like the down picking stuff that's really fast. But no, I've kept it pretty up. I can play about as fast as I did back in my 20s.
That's awesome. It's because I would have issues, like my hands would cramp and they would just draw. Sometimes I'm like, do I have enough potassium? Like, what's going on? Is it the diabetes?
Yeah.
And
no, it's probably the coal mine work.
I mean, that may be what it is. I worked too hard is what it was. But
yeah, the arthritis can get at me. The elbows is where I tend to have problems, not my hands.
Right.
Because I noticed when I first started playing, I would I would tense up in my elbows, which was fine when you got 25-year-old elbows. But when they're 50, I started getting some arthritis or Tommy John type effect in it. Mm-hmm. So then I had to change the way I was holding my pick, holding my hand, and that kind of helped me through that. But yeah, no, I'm playing, even though I don't play guitar much in the band now. I'm playing great.
Yeah. How often did you tour back then? How many shows were you doing a year?
Oh, we've never been a touring band.
Okay.
But at that point, we were doing well around 100 shows a year. We were playing a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were getting a lot of opportunities to go out because the metal scene in the early 2000s, it was the new wave of American heavy metal. We kind of got swept up into that. Mm-hmm. So we were getting a lot of opportunities to play with up and coming bands. Now it's a lot harder to get shows, even as an established band. It's difficult to get shows.
Really?
Yeah.
So this releases, and then eventually you start writing "And They Shall Take Up Serpents," which was right after.
Right after.
Yeah. So
we were demoing it out when we were touring on this.
So you kind of were just keeping up the momentum of like, okay, did you start to feel a shift of like, all right, we got something here?
Yeah. Yeah, we did. Specifically, when we put the demo together and handed it over to Chris Adler and Lamb of God, because when we put out the fundamental component, they had just finished their second album, which was called As the Palaces Burn.
Yep.
And then when we started writing And They Shall Take Up Serpents, Lamb of God was working on their album, which catapulted them, which was, what was their third album? Somebody's probably watching this right now, screaming at me the name of it.
Man,
let me look it up.
I know I have it. Or I had it. I don't have CDs anymore, which is
Ashes
sad.
of the Wake.
Yes.
Ashes of the Wake, which that was their groundbreaking album.
Yeah.
That's what got signed them to Epic Records. So I had given the demos over for our second album to Chris Adler, and he was like, "Oh my Lord, this is different. He was like, we're going to have to go back and rework our stuff. Because our stuff's not good enough now."
Oh, that's great.
And he even told me, he was like, you coming from West Virginia and me being from Virginia, when I heard the stuff on Serpents, he was like, it pushed us, Lamb of God, to be a better band. Like, we had discussions like, we've got to step it up because our little brothers are actually releasing some stuff that's better than what we're doing. And then they put out Ashes Awake, and it blew everything off.
And Sacrament was phenomenal too, which they bring in a lot of Appalachia in their writing too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and Chris isn't with them anymore, correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's not with.
Nope.
I mean, there's been so many albums come out that I fell out and I need to listen to. I started listening to podcasts and
right. Rightfully so.
Music. Yeah, but I would grow up and then we're like, I want to listen to someone talk for 3 hours. Like, yeah, that's what I want to do. But I miss the days when I would just, crank up music and not necessarily haul coal, but that's when I did it.
Right.
Is when I would listen.
Right. You had more time.
Yeah. But, all right. So, and obviously, And They Shall Take Up Serpents has a lot of Appalachia in it because it's literally based on snake handling.
Yep.
Now, did you kind of have that name early, or was you like, yeah?
Oh, yeah. We had that name early. That song was written during while we were out touring for the first album, Fundamental Component, Taking Up Serpents.
Yep.
And that line comes from the Bible, and it's what the snake handling church kind of built their whole credence upon is, and they shall take up serpents, and if we drink any deadly thing, it shall not harm them. So we wanted to write a song about that, and then we got a local artist from Sissonville to draw the album cover, and he painted that.
That's gorgeous.
And then he thought it look too, it connected too much with the face, so he decided to light the canvas on fire, and then he put it out, and that's why the face is missing.
That's awesome. Well, who's the artist? Oh, gotta give him.
His name is Jimmy Butcher. He is a very well-known tattoo artist in South Carolina now. He moved away, and it is very hard to get a tattoo from him. He's that good.
Now, the first single, correct me if I'm wrong, was it Jeremiah? Is that how you say it, by the way? That's
Jeremiah.
Okay.
Jeremiah.
Yeah. And that one, you know, when you hear it on the radio, I mean, all your songs are unique, but this one was like, oh, it's instantly set itself apart from every other song.
Yeah, the chorus is pretty big. This was the first time we wrote like a big chorus, and so the record label decided to make that the first single, and then they gave us like barely any money to shoot a music video, which we did in a funeral home in Charleston. And then,
how much money are we talking? Can we say
$600, $500? Yeah, for the whole crew.
Wow,
editing. You know, so luckily we found a funeral home that allowed us to come in, and they said, well, look, you know, you guys got like 3 hours, and they said, we've got some bodies over here we need to take care of and stuff. So so we rushed in and
I
shot
gotta bring
it.
up the video.
And then I thought this song had the special sauce to Jeremiah was the solo. It's Tony Rorbaugh's one of his most iconic solos. It's beautiful. So we give it to Prosthetic, and they said, song's too long. We need to cut some. We need to cut 1.5 minutes out in order to get it on MTV. And I was like, we don't give a shit whether it's going to be on MTV. We can't cut this.
Right.
So they sent us back the cut version. And what did they cut out was Tony's whole solo.
No way.
Yes.
So this one right here doesn't have the solo.
19 years ago.
Prosthetic.
They completely cut his solo out. We were so pissed.
Oh yeah, I see. 445. Yeah. This has theirs is 445, and the song's actually 6.
And the solo is the crescendo.
Yeah. Dude.
So I ended up finding. Last year on a hard drive, I ended up finding extra footage from that video shoot, and I recut it and put that extra footage in and threw his solo back in, and that's what it says. That's why this is on our official.
Well, we got to play that one then. We got to, we won't play the whole 6 minutes, but people got to hear this song if you haven't heard it.
Okay. Yeah, the solo is just it's great. Yeah. And if you want to skip to the solo, you can.
Do you not like this part?
I do. I've just heard this ad nauseum.
I can imagine. But this part is just so like, this is when you burn down your house. It's like, okay, it's the audible form of a collision.
Yes, that's funny. And that's our bass player, Skip Cromer from Pittsburgh, miming to my vocals.
Now, he was dating a girl out of Sky Gusty at the time. Yeah, I can't remember. Because our worlds are almost intertwined.
Yeah.
Because Skip knew our drummer somehow because he was from Gary. And then we were like, oh, we may get to meet. Like Byzantine. We may get to meet like, Randy and Chris with Lamb of God, stuff like that. And we never got to meet nobody. But it was a good time.
It was good.
All right, here we go. I gotta play this. What would you call it? A bridge? Would you call that a bridge?
Yeah. Oh, that's the breakdown. That's the breakdown.
Yeah. So good.
You want me to explain that riff?
Yes, dude, I'm in heaven right now. That is just,
So
I've listened to that song so many times. I'll have to beep that. But yeah, so many times. But yeah, go ahead.
So what we do is we kind of came up with the same, we called it the floating snare riff, which is like basically what Meshuggah does, but a little more palatable, easier to digest.
Mm-hmm.
So Matt is always playing in 4/4. The snare is always going to hit the same thing, but we're playing in like 6/8. So we're playing a riff that is slightly longer than 4/4, so it kind of goes a little over. Then the next time it cycles around, even though the snare is in the same spot, the next time the snare sounds like, where's it at? It's in the wrong spot.
Right.
And it has to cycle around 4 times before the snare falls back into place.
Okay.
So it's just math, 4/4, 6/8. You layer it on long enough, and by the time it cycles around, they hit again. And we were like, this is fun. Let's just do this our whole career.
So unique, man. I mean, that's when you start making the I smell face. Like, God, what is that? That's amazing. It's just so good.
I like now that I don't have to play guitar, because now when we play this live, I can look out and see the stank faces. They're like, ooh. Before I had to headbang. Yeah, this is all extra stock footage I just kind of found. Yeah. This is so long ago.
I love it. Was this Ghostbusters?
It's the ghost. It looks like the Ghostbusters.
I love it.
Vehicle,
dude. I gotta say, this is one of the best $600 videos I've ever seen. Like, y'all did a really good job. Yeah.
We putting some time in back then. Yeah, his kind of jazz influences over top of. Somebody coined the term back then that we sounded like a warthog chasing a butterfly.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Like the heaviness and the melody floating around it.
Yeah. You need a lead guitarist that doesn't just listen to metal.
Right.
You just do. It makes such a difference.
Yeah, so Tony, now he's back in the band. He's got what they call a battle vest.
Mm-hmm.
So he got him a denim jacket, and he's putting, his battle patches on to rep the bands. And he wanted it to nothing to be Jazz Cats, Coltrane, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Ella Fitzgerald, but all in death, like irreadable death metal logos.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah. So if anybody out there can make us some jazz patches that look like a death metal band, we will pay them, and they will be all over Tony's jacket.
1,000%. I guarantee there's at least 2 people that can do that out there.
Please.
All right. So, and they shall take up. Serpents comes out. And is this when did you all start going overseas?
We started going overseas on that album. Yeah.
I thought I remember around the time that you all went to Germany or somewhere. I can't remember.
2005 on that album, they sent us over to the United Kingdom, and we did 2 weeks over there as a support band. In England, Wales, and Scotland.
Right.
And it was very successful, and we had a blast. And we came back home, and we were like, all right, we're cooking with gas. Now let's hit the US. Let's do some festivals. And they said, we don't think that America's going to dig you guys as much as Europe. You're a European band. And we were like, all right, then what do we do? Who do we open up for? We're going to send you right back to headline the United Kingdom. And we were like, whoa, that's not a good idea. Like, we're just on our second album, and we just went over there and played as support band to a couple hundred people a night. None of them knew us. Please don't send us back over there. And that's exactly what Prosthetic Records did, was send us back over as a headliner like 8 months later. And it was an abysmal tour.
Oh, no way.
It was those lights that kids have and you crack them and they turn neon.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first crack in the shell of Byzantine, was that second European tour.
So kind of threw you to the wolves too early?
Way too early.
Yeah.
Way too early. I mean, when you're stuck across the pond for 2 weeks and shows are literally being canceled in front of you as you go to the next gig because they're hearing how bad the other gigs was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we ended up, the last 4 days, we just sat around at our bus driver's house in Wales staring at sheep because the shows had been canceled because the turnouts was so bad.
Aww.
And we had just hemorrhaged money.
Yeah.
So here we are on the end of our second album, which should have been like back in the States, hitting it. And we're over there just like $15,000 in debt, coming back home, not wanting to speak to each other. And I was like,
Did you fight a lot of frustration?
We didn't fight. That's the problem. Like with Byzantine, always is like we would just internalize it and keep it in, and then come home and like stew,
passive aggressive,
and text each other like massive emails how this sucks, and you know what I mean. I should be delivering pizzas at Husson's. I'm missing out on my pizza money. So yeah, it was the first chink in the armor.
Well, this is good to know because, as a band that played to 7 people, we thought you made it when you sign an album deal. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't necessarily work like that. It's kind of like a loan. Is that correct? Like, how does it is? Yeah.
It's just a glorified loan within the music industry. You're better off getting a loan from City National Bank or one of these smaller banks in West Virginia than you are taking money from a record label. That is damn sure.
Now they do have like they'll promote it and do different things like that. But
yeah. But if you have a good manager, they can work out a deal for you to where you don't take money up front, and they'll still promote it because their label name is slapped on it. Mm-hmm. It's just at the end they take a less of a cut because they didn't have as much invested in the physical product and stuff like that. Had I known that at the time, we would have worked our deals a lot different, but I didn't know anything. I thought this is as good as it's ever going to get for us, so, and then not having management really screwed us too, because we could have had someone step in and be like, no, Byzantine's not going back to Europe. We're going to find something over here.
If I was them, I'd be like, why don't, all right, Byzantine and Lamb of God is going to tour together for like 4 years. I don't know, but
that was the case. But at that point, Lamb of God had just left Prosthetic and went to Epic Records.
They left. Okay.
So we lost our big brothers in the fight. Because before then, I could always hit up Adler, and then he would talk to Prosthetic and be like, here's what's going to happen with Byzantine. So, yeah. But we were on our own.
Now, where was Kill Switch engaged? Because that was around the same time too.
Kill Switch engaged. Where were they from?
Was they? They weren't on Prosthetic.
They were on. I think Metal Blade.
Metal Blade. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was trying to think because I know those were my huge bands around the same time. I was like, all right, let's put in a Lamb of God CD, Byzantine, Kill Switch, and repeat. That was kind of my thing. But but yeah, so. You all are bummed out, frustrated about Europe. When did you decide to start writing Oblivion Beckons, which is when the first big breakup occurred around that time?
Well, I think that second tour to Europe was late 2005, I believe. We put out Oblivion Beckons in 2007. So I think we started writing it late 2005. I think this one took a little longer. Because we really wanted to space it out. At that time we felt like we oh crap, we put out an album 2004, 2005, they're wanting us to put out 2006, we're going to burn ourselves out.
Right.
So I was like, let's take a little time, you know, try to figure this out and also lick our financial wounds because we had lost so much money the second time that everybody had to kind of come home and get away from each other and work their day jobs. So we started writing for Oblivion Beckons, and then during that writing process is when the band like broke up internally without everybody knowing it, because we went into the studio knowing that we were breaking up. It was a very Fleetwood Mac style recording session where I would come into the studio, Tony would stay away, and then we would schedule Tony, and then I would get out because we didn't want to be around each other.
Oh,
yeah. And that's why, to be honest, that album could have been one of our best, and it probably was the one that was going to set us off onto a big path. But
dude, it's so freaking good. It's so mind blowing that you all didn't even really were in the same room when you were recording it.
We were not. It was. I would come in and be like, "Oh, that's what he did." Oh, okay, well, we'll go with that. You know, the problem with Oblivion Beckons is it's too long. There's probably 3 songs on there that should have never made it. And had we...
I got to know which ones.
Well, I would assume every band member would have different ones, because what happened at that time was we all knew we were breaking up.
Right.
So everybody wanted their songs in. Nothing was going to get cut. You know, this is our last chance to dance. So we all recorded everything we did. And had we sat down as a band and said, these 2 or these 3 don't cut the mustard, I think that album would have probably topped Serpents as like front to back the best album we'd done. Yeah.
Well, to me, I felt the level up. I felt like
that's good.
Yeah. I mean, to me personally, I just was like, man, it just keeps getting better and better. And then I think right around the time, I think Mike called me and said, yeah, they broke up. I was like, oh, because we were playing at that time.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was our whole goal, was like, we got to get in touch. We got to figure out how we can collaborate, you know, just being goofy kids, which we were like 20s. But yeah, it was very, very sad to hear. What was the single? Was it Nadir? That was the single. Yeah.
Single was Nadir. And then I believe we came out with either Oblivion Beckons or maybe Expansion and Collapse. I don't know. We didn't, where we broke up the day after the album came out, there was not a lot of fanfare. You kind of just hit
power on the radio. Like, I don't even want to hear it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
We just shipped it off to Prosthetic with a big FU, pretty much. Yeah. And then thinking that we were screwing them, you know, because we were upset with Prosthetic. We didn't think that they had our back, and then hindsight now, looking back, we ended up basically screwing ourselves. We set ourselves back 10 years by doing that, because Prosthetic spent $30,000 probably on that album, and then we dropped them a goose egg to where they can't recoup any of it back. And the head of Prosthetic is very influential in the music business now, very. And he still really won't talk to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've actually contacted Prosthetic to ask them if I could buy our physical stock. This was years ago. I said, well, I'd like to see if I can get copies of Oblivion Beckons and blah, blah, OJ Byzantine, yahoo.com. Nah, sorry. We burned them all. We got rid of them all. I'm like, okay. And I contacted a friend with a record store and said, hey, won't you ask? And they emailed them, and within like 48 hours, how many you need?
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm sorry.
Well, it sounds like you've taken a lot of time to reflect on that time. Do you think it was like a mix of things, or do you think ego got in the way, or like, what do you think was the main issue that just caused the collapse?
I don't think it was ever the ego, because we've never had an ego.
Right.
We've always thought that we're less than, and we got work to do, and, you know, being good West Virginia kids, trying to be nice, I think what it was just the combination of being broke, which at the time I didn't know every band has to go through that. You have to get through that fire to get to the next level. But the pressure of being from where we're from, where everybody and your friends and your family and your girlfriends or whatever are like, we got bills to pay. You need to like quit, playing in this fantasy world and like get a real job. And we all had that get a real job beat down, and it broke us all down pretty much.
What was you doing at the time?
I was delivering pizzas at Husson's Pizza in Charleston, and I had a college degree, and it was embarrassing. I would go to people's house wearing a dumb blue smock and a big red Husson's hat that stood off my head this high with 2 pizzas, and then they'd be like, "Oh, I know it. I saw you on Headbangers Ball," and I'd be like, "Yeah, here's your pepperoni rolls," So I'd be like, "God, dog, what am I doing? Why am I doing this?" And so it was just a lot of pressure.
What degree did you have?
An agricultural degree,
right?
Yeah, plant science.
Yeah.
So
I can imagine, like, I can see you walking up to, now granted, like, people delivering pizzas, you shouldn't be embarrassed. Do what you got to do, pay bills, and it's great. But I could see you walking up to a door thinking like, "Oh God, I hope they don't recognize me."
Brother, now if I had to do that, I would do it with a smile, because when you become older, you get so sure of yourself and you can see the path ahead, and you have to eat for a little bit. And I would work any job right now to make the stuff happen. But when you're in your late 20s, you feel like a total failure, because you've got other friends who are golfing and, vacationing,
making business deals,
making all that stuff. And then you're like, I'm not even going to go to my high school reunion. I'm so embarrassed of myself. I'm just playing in this crappy band. But I had no idea that what was to lie ahead, which would be a long career of putting out music and staying in the industry and stuff.
Heck yeah, man. So. And I know, it sounds like you suffer from low self-esteem, and it's related. It's relatable for me to hear, because the way I see it is your stuff is just so good and monumental in my life.
Well, thank you.
And you, like, I can just see you going through that, because a lot of creatives are like that. Like, we're not sure we have, what's it called? It's called something where you think like it could just cave in at any moment.
Oh no, I hear imposter syndrome.
Yeah, that's it. Imposter syndrome. I can see that trickling in, and you're just wanting to hang on to it and figure out how to keep it.
Yeah. Mine is definitely like, if anybody watches this that know me, they'll be like, he definitely doesn't suffer from low self-esteem.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure of myself, but I am very cognizant of the fact that it's a gift, and I try to be really humble and gracious with it. But no, it was just a lot of pressure back then, and we wanted to thrust it on the record label, and I really feel that it was all our fault. Like Prosthetic and the head guy there, they were just kind of doing what they do. They had 20 other bands to deal with, and we thought, oh, we're it.
Sure.
We just didn't put in the work and the time. I could have easily told my girlfriend at the time, who later became my wife, like, we can still have kids and I can still do this. I don't have to quit, But through that process, I ended up telling the guys in the band that I had to quit playing live, because me and my wife wanted to have, or me and my fiance at the time wanted to have a family, and the band lost their shit on me.
Okay, so
I was the one that
you just quit, and then everyone else was wanting to stay. Is that kind of what?
Yeah,
happened?
that was the precursor to all this. When we were out gigging, between Serpents and Oblivion, we played a college in Virginia, and I told them on the way back that I could no longer tour.
Oh,
that I need to stay home, deliver my pizzas. Me and my wife we're going to try to have a child, and I really need to focus on my home life.
Yeah.
Tony within a few months before that, had just gotten divorced. So he finally pushed all his chips in. He was all in. He's like, I'm ready to do this. And then I tell him, I'm not. And so that ride back from Virginia was basically just three dudes yelling at me the whole time. Our manager was standing up, screaming at me. Everybody was yelling at me except Wolf. He was sitting behind me, like being quiet. Tony was like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it all kind of calmed down. And I'm just like, oh, man, I've ruined this. Then Wolf leaned over to me and said, hey, man, I knocked my girlfriend up, so I'm kind of glad you did this. I'm like, you motherfucker, you could have stood up and told these guys. You let me just take a beat down? Oh, Wolf.
Man, that's
so that was it. Like, we were like, we got to record the album. Let's just record the album.
Yeah.
Wolf ended up having his son. Skip ended up having his son. And then I ended up having Mallory. They all end up like, we had three of us had children within like 6 months of each other. And poor Tony was just like, you know, F all you guys. And he left, and me and him didn't speak for years.
Which we'll get into how y'all made up, because I just find this so interesting, because literally all I heard was they broke up. Oh, daggone it. What now? And then, you know, you just live life. But there's so much going on. But at the same time, like, you know, you kind of were trying to be the quote unquote responsible thing. But like you said, for me personally, a lot of stuff I did, you know, when I left the mines, I couldn't have done if I didn't have a partner that supported me and said, you know what, I got insurance, you know, we'll take care of whatever we need to. And I couldn't have done it without her support. No. So it sounds like you're just trying to have a family and do what you thought was right.
Do what we thought was right. Byzantine 2025, we're completely different, you know, situation. All of us have wives that are completely supportive. They get it. Just like you said, like, now it works because we have a whole group of wonderful ladies around us that support us and are proud of us. So, but back then things were a little different.
I mean, we grow up.
Yeah, your late 20s, early 30s. It's a little bit more egocentric.
Yeah.
Me. What are we going to do? You know.
It's funny how life changes when you realize that I'm going to die one day, and I got to figure out, like, how am I going to pursue something that I want to, like, a life worth living? Not that you didn't feel that way. I mean, having a family is important and goals are different for everybody. But when you're an artist, if you can't create, I mean, you're essentially broken inside. Yeah. So I imagine that was a huge, not necessarily dark time, but probably pretty dark. Yeah.
It was real dark. It was the darkest time I've ever had in my life. I mean, other than, you know, I've had some family die and stuff. I had first cousin die in the Gulf War. That was super dark. But the period between Oblivion Beckons and the self-titled album, which was 2008 to 2013, that was not a happy OJ. You know, I wasn't I could have been a better dad because I would come home grumpy, you know what I mean? Because I wasn't producing any art, and there was a whole side of my personality that was just rotting, you know? And so once we got the band back together in 2013, I was like, I realized I'm a lifer. I always knew I was a long gamer. Everything I do, I look years in advance instead of, you know, months. Or so I was like, I'm going to do this until I cannot do this anymore. And if anybody's in my life that thinks otherwise, then maybe I need to move them to the side. So I haven't had a dark time like that since then, and all because of creative outlets. Yeah.
And other creatives listen, I'm sure they understand. Like, people don't really understand, like, you're kind of a defeated person when you don't have the ability to, show the world your talents. You know what I mean? Because that's how I was like in the mines, is working 60 hours a week. And I just felt, not that anything's wrong with coal mining, it's great for a lot of people, but for an artist, I just felt like I was deteriorating.
Yeah. You're stifling yourself for a paycheck. And it can really do some damage long term to artistic people. And anybody who's watching this, whether you write books or you paint or you dance or something, I'm sure you all get that. You know, sometimes people think, oh, he just wants to be out in the public eye. Like, I abhor speaking, you know what I mean, and talking in front of people. Singing on the microphone, all of these things are counterintuitive to my actual personality. I'm really kind of a quiet dude, but I have to do this stuff for the band, so I do it. But it's the other creative side that I have to do all the time to be happy.
Sure,
yeah. This part just comes along with it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we do have to pay bills. Eventually, you become a contractor. How did that happen? I've always wondered that.
Well, I had a friend. I was working at FedEx during the breakup of the band, trying to find my life path. And I had a friend whose dad was a contractor, and he said, "Hey, OJ, let's flip a house." And I was like, Steve, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't own a hammer. One, I'm not handy. And two, isn't there a big housing crash right now? Because it was a huge housing crash at that time.
Right.
And he's like, I don't know. I don't care. Let's do it. He bought a house in St. Albans, and I threw like $5,000 in that I had saved, and we flipped the house. We actually made money on it. And we decided to do another one. And then we made money on it. And this was at the time when nobody was selling houses, really. But everybody was getting into the flipping game, And something clicked in me when I learned how to do tile. It was like it tickled the same fancy as the music in me. I was like, ooh, I like this. And I was like, I think I could be really good at this. So I hyper focused in on tile. And I said, I'm going to read every book, watch every YouTube video, every HGTV thing about it. And I said, in 5 years, I'm going to own my own tile business and, trying to long game it.
Heck yeah.
And I started from nothing. And I'd ask my dad, show me how to do this. My dad was handy. I contact a bunch of my friends. You might need any tile work. And then I have one friend named Mark Samples. I will always owe him my whole career. He had some money, and he's a buddy of mine. He said, yeah, come over to my house, tear out the bathroom. And I was like, are you serious? Yeah, you can do it. So I ended up renovating all 3 of his bathrooms. And that's how I learned how to do tile and bathrooms. And just got better and better and better. And now I'm 15 years in, and I run my own tile and bathroom and kitchen remodeling business. I don't advertise. And
some of the most beautiful work out there.
Thank you.
For sure.
Thank you. And it's like I found an artistry in it. And maybe it's where I'm a quarter Hispanic or something. Maybe there's that Mexican in me was just like, ooh, you like tile, know? So. Yeah. I just love doing it.
Well, an artist that seeps out in different ways, and I think it definitely did there.
Right, yeah.
I mean, there's a reason you think in numbers. I mean, that has to help in the tile world too.
Oh yeah,
in rhythms,
Oh, yeah.
And like that doesn't look right. You know what symmetry is, and
it's weird that my whole my bank account is completely predicated on my hillbilly geometry and algebra, which I was awful at math. I had to take summer school, and that's all I do is math and music and math with my tile.
Right. Yeah.
So
awesome. Well, we start to climb back, and you start to get the band back together. How did you do that?
So 2012, I catch word that Tony had a heart attack. He had moved to North Carolina, and Tony had always been a massive smoker, always loved to smoke. And he also ran, which was a weird combination. Like he would run and then smoke. So apparently he told me that he was in North Carolina living, and he had just finished a cigarette, and he decided to jump on the treadmill and run a couple miles and then ended up having a massive heart attack.
Jeez, how old was he?
Like 35 or something.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, like almost died from it. So he had to move back home. And when I heard about it, I felt so bad for him, and I had so much empathy for his situation. I was like, I need to reconnect back with him, and see how he's doing. And we did. And one thing led to another. And it was like, hey, man, let's write some riffs together. Okay. And then that is what became of, the second version of Byzantine, which started in 2013 with our self-titled album.
Heck yeah. How many of the original members came back?
All of us.
All of you. Okay.
Yeah. Me, him, Matt Wolf, our drummer. And we call Skip Cromer an original member because he was there on Serpents and Oblivion Beckons.
Right.
So it was that OG crew of those three albums, so we had all the team back for the self-titled. And I really think listening back, it's probably one of our strongest and more aggressive albums.
Oh, so good. Yeah. Well, I have, I'm going to say what I think is your best song, but it's not yet. It hadn't happened yet. It's not until one of the later albums. Okay. But I don't want to spoil that. I'll let you think on which one that is. But, so that album releases, and then did you feel that old-fashioned feeling, or did you feel things were different with the band, that you didn't have that label over top of you?
No, we actually liked it. We crowdfunded that. I think it was a Kickstarter or Indiegogo, one of them. But we raised a significant amount of money, enough to do a music video and some other marketing. We hired a marketing company out of New York called The Syndicate. And The Syndicate was a younger up-and-coming marketing company up there. But they had a friend of mine who was a DJ at West Virginia University when I went to school there. And then he was a marketing director for The Syndicate. And he said, I'll take over the marketing for the self-titled. So we paid them like, I don't know, $10,000, $12,000 to market it. And it did really well. And then we hired him again for the next album. And that's when blew up again.
Right.
Yeah. The Syndicate helped a lot.
So the next album, which was to Resolve,
yes,
was another self-released album that you said that you got them to market to. Yeah. What happened around that time? Well,
Tony had left the band after the self-titled. That was a very short-lived romance. Got back together. I'm going to blame that one on me, because
it's always the best tactic.
Yes. And looking back, from a 1,000-yard view, it was my fault. I was always trying to run the band and be a manager, and I had no management skills. So when you take someone with no management skills and they put themselves as a manager, they can come off as a dick. And I did that for years.
Right.
And Tony got the brunt of a lot of that because he was, he was one of the OGs. So I would like throw my weight around, or I would just, subversively go behind his back and email things, and make things happen without telling him. And then he'd find out. And I was just an awful, awful bandmate. Also at that time, I was experiencing what I didn't know, but I was experiencing a thyroid disorder called Graves' disease.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was battling this Graves' disease for a couple years without knowing it. And it was changing my personality. Like if you go back and look at pictures of me from back at that time, I looked like a skeleton. Like I was I had this superpower where I could eat and lose weight. And I was like, oh man, this is fucking awesome. You know what I mean? They had all this energy.
Yeah.
But I was angry, and so Tony was just like, I'm out. You're kind of hard to deal with.
Right.
So then we had to bring Brian Henderson in, which was a blessing in disguise. I love Hendo. He basically saved this band. And then we wrote 2 releases to Resolve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is killer. So the band didn't break up, just Tony left.
Tony left.
Gotcha.
My wife left because she then realized at that point, oh, this is real. He ain't quitting, So me and my wife split up. And that's when things got really dark for me because I didn't have Tony. Matt had developed a wicked pain prescription drug addiction. So I had a drummer who was addicted to opioids. My guitar player left, my bass player left, and my wife left. And I was like, oh, now I got to write an album. How am I going to do this? So,
well, a funny thing then I think is around the time you wrote my favorite song, which is Justinian Code, which is on Cicada Tree. I think arguably that's probably your best song. I don't know. I love so many. It's hard to even narrow that down, but it's just so, all of your inspirations I hear in that song.
Yeah. Very big concoction of all the inspiration. So much so is why it had to be like 8.5 minutes long.
Oh yeah.
That's when we started getting into longer songs.
Yeah. Which, I mean, there's no better song for me to work out to. It's just so good. But, so you write the Cicada Tree, which is when you all signed with Metal Blade Records, which is where you still are currently, correct?
Yeah.
How did that come about? Were they like, hey, y'all are writing some good stuff? Or
so 2 releases to Resolve came out in 2017. We rehired the syndicate to work that one.
Mm-hmm.
We doubled up our money, and I think we paid them roughly like $20,000 just for the marketing.
Yeah.
That album alone cost me $30,000 to put out. So, that if you're listening to this and you think, oh, I got to put $5,000 behind the album, that's a drop in the bucket. Like, if you really want to move the needle, you have to put credit card after credit card after credit card down if you believe in your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Had I not done that and taken loans from my parents, we would have not got signed. We would have put out the same album, but nobody would have heard it. Luckily, we paid the syndicate and they pushed that album, They pushed the single, The Agonies, like really hard. Sirius XM picked it up, and then Jose played it over and over.
Oh, yeah. And
then The Agonies got to the number 1 position on The Devil's Dozen, which is the top 12 songs of Sirius's heavy metal at that time.
Mm-hmm.
It stayed number 1 for like 7 or 8 weeks. And I was like, holy crap, what's going on? There was like Byzantine, The Agonies, self-funded, Slayer, Lamb of God, Five Finger Death, you know what I mean? Like all these bands that spent more on catering than we spent on the whole thing.
Right.
So apparently Metal Blade Records decided that they had to have a meeting about us. So Brian Slagle said that they had a meeting and they was like, why is there a unsigned band taking out the spot that Killswitch Engage and Cannibal Corpse should be in? Like, we need to figure out what's going on here. So he flew out from Los Angeles to New York City to catch us play.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't know this. Like, we were showing up in Brooklyn to play a club. We're like, all right, there's going to be 20 people. It's on a Monday.
Right.
We're going to give it our C game. So all of a sudden in walks Jose Mangan, Brian Slagle, Rob Caggiano, the guitar player for Anthrax, and Chris Santos, the chef that was on Chopped.
Wow.
So we're
what a
like,
collection.
yeah, what is going on? I was like, who are they here to see? You know what I mean? So Jose, I've been friends with Jose for years, and he's like, Brian wants to see you guys play, you know? And it was all because of we really sunk everything we had behind To Release, To Resolve, and the Syndicate pushed it. So we played. Brian Slagle came up to us afterwards and picked up the album, and he was like, so how much for the album? And I was like, that's $10. And he was like, no, I mean, to put out the album.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I was like, oh, you want to sign us? Okay. So we end up going home and working out a deal. And that's where we're at right now.
Heck yeah, man.
So,
and yeah, it's good because you kind of knew how it worked. I mean, you a lot more, and you knew what to ask for and kind of how to manage and figure out.
Yeah, this recording contract, the first one was not favorable. This one we worked and reworked, and I approached it as if I was buying a car.
Yeah, I
was like, I can get up and leave right now. We're the talent. You know what I mean? And I was like, I can't believe I'm emailing this to Metal Blade. Yep. But they were like, okay, we'll make a concession. We'll do this. And it worked out. I love Metal Blade. Love them. Yep. Everybody there are dear human beings.
Well, as Justinian Code is probably my favorite song, Harbingers is good from front to end.
Thank you.
And it's very impressive that you went through all this stuff and you all were able to come together and still write this incredible album. So, and I love Harbingers just because I did a Mothman movie, and Harbinger of Doom is like this whole thing.
Yeah.
And the theme of the album is just so fun to me. But how long did it take you to put that together?
About, I think
which was a big gap between that and
Cicada Tree. Yeah. There was close to 8 years.
Yeah.
Close to 8 years. Metal Blade was like, OJ, you're a musician. You guys gotta give us another album, buddy.
Right.
It's like, oh my God, it's been 8 years. We gotta write something. So we wrote this album. I think it took us about 4 or 5 months to write, a little longer than it normally did, but we had a new writer, Ryan, our bass player in the band. So we wanted to make sure that he had his say. So we took a little bit more time. The reason why we had such a gap is obviously COVID happened between the last album and this one, and that was about a 2-year gap.
Sure,
where everything kind of
Yep.
And then I got remarried before that, but my wife and I were like, let's pop out some kids. She's younger and I love children. And, I had one daughter from my previous marriage, and I was like, sure, let's keep it going. So we had 2 kids. And then Brian, our guitar player, and I both started new businesses. So
you built a studio?
Around, yeah, built a studio, Trident Music Facility in Charleston. Turn around, all of a sudden 7 years pass, and you're like, holy shit, gotta be musicians again.
Right.
So, yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, how has that release been so far this year? Like, and I know y'all have been doing shows.
Yeah.
And did you line up a tour, or like what was the deal with promoting that album?
We, for the first time ever, we have a manager. Her name is Pam.
Shout out to Pam. And then we have a new booking agency, Continental Touring. And luckily, they were able to help land us a week and a half run with Fear Factory and Cavalier Conspiracy that we just finished. Heck yeah.
And then in 5 days, we're getting ready to head back out and do the Sunshine State and New Orleans and Atlanta with Fear Factory again. So
that's fun.
Yeah. And then head up north and do 3 shows with Piss and Razors. So we're playing more now. There's a sense of like urgency And it's like, we got to get out there and play.
Right.
We got to push this album. It's actually doing really well. We're getting great reviews, but we'll just have to see, how it stands up, at the end of the year.
How's the shows been? Great turnouts?
Awesome.
I'm sure people were just like, yes.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, being able to go out and play in front of these large crowds that are kind of built for that style, Cavalera Conspiracy was playing Chaos AD album in its entirety, which, and Fear Factory was playing Demanufacture. So we're the same pretty much age group of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like we're playing for a bunch of young kids that don't know
Everybody
us.
knows.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your set list? Like, how have you decided to line that up?
Oh, well, that's been the most difficult because we'd only been getting 30 minutes and we're like, we got 60 songs.
Dude, 30
How do we
you
pick?
got 45 minutes of bangers.
Yeah. How do we pick like 6 songs?
Yeah.
So we were just like, hey, Tony's back in the band. Let's pick some old tunes that he wrote and knows really well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's lock in. Let's play a couple songs from the new album. So we're basically hammering the new album and playing off the first 2. And that's it. Yeah, for right now.
So good. How many shows in West Virginia have you lined up?
Just 2. We did
you did one. Did you do one Morgantown?
And Morgantown.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we're going to be doing the record release day in Huntington next year. I think it's in April or something for Jason Beater's Orbits record store. And hopefully we will have our new album on vinyl for that.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. They didn't make it on vinyl. They said, well, last album didn't do too well, but I think they'll pop some out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, all right. What's the goals now? Like, are we going to keep doing this well into the future, or what's the future of Byzantine
The
currently?
future is, we've discussed it in the band. We're all enjoying our company so much. And so we kind of came up with a rule that if we get to a point where it is no longer fun, because this is not about finances, we all make good money at home. If it gets to the point where it's no longer fun, or we start writing shitty songs,
right?
As soon as the songs start tanking, we'll know because we're writing them for ourselves. I never write music for other people because you're always going to get let down.
Yeah.
You're chasing ghosts. So I always write for myself. And if I'm not getting kind of like amped up from these songs, then I know the well is run dry. It's time to call it.
Yeah.
So, until then, we're going to keep putting music out.
So your drummer now is Matt Bowles, right?
Yeah. From Beckley.
Okay. And he was in
Our Malignant.
Yes.
I love it.
They was playing around. They was killing it when we had Keep the Victim Warm was our band in 2009.
Raleigh County.
Yeah, Raleigh County, baby. And he's incredible.
Yeah, he's a great dude, man.
Yeah.
I have so much fun with Matt. He's a whatever, man. He's just country boy, kind of like, hey, we're gonna change your setup. We're gonna do this. All right, whatever. Yeah.
When and correct me if I'm wrong, Matt Wolf actually he passed away, correct? Yes.
Yeah.
And that was around 2015? Or when was that?
Matt, I think Matt passed away maybe 4 years ago.
Oh,
3 years
really?
ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it hadn't been that long.
Yeah, no, Matt left the band.
Right.
And then, because of the drug abuse, and then we invited him back to hang out and cameo in one of the videos called New Ways to Bear Witness, where we had him run me over with the truck.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And he was like, I always wanted to do that. So
well, I hate to
we
hear
stayed friends with him, but then it got real dark and so he was trying to, the story, just, you've probably heard it in your family and your friends. They're trying to kick the opioids and they get on the Suboxone.
Oh.
And then all of a sudden the Suboxone clinic cuts them off. So then they turn to heroin. You know what I mean? Because it's easier to get to, and then it kills them. And that's basically what happened to Matt. Yeah.
Oh man, I hate to hear that.
Yeah. It was rough. So
rest in peace to Matt.
Mm-hmm. He was a good human being.
Yeah. Well, so, and you rekindled with Tony again?
Yep. Tony's back in the band.
How did that happen?
Just
like, hey man, remember we broke up again? Let's kind of get back together, figure it out. Nobody had a heart attack, right?
No, this was all very positive get back together. I kept in touch with Tony, and 2004 was when we released our first album. So last year was the 20th anniversary of our first album, and we were playing 2 shows locally, Huntington and Charleston, and we were playing songs heavily focused on that. So we all just kind of said, hey, why don't we ask Tony to come and just sit in on a song or 2, and contacted him. He said, I'm down. Let's do it. So we rehearsed like twice, and we just had a blast. It was just like simpatico, but not just me and Tony. It was like Hendo and Tony and Ryan. And I was like, oh man, this feels great. Because Ryan and Tony are both Lewis County boys. Mm-hmm. They grew up 5 minutes from each other, so they already knew each other. And Hendo and Tony, were in the same music scene, so everybody's already friends. Yeah. And where I am in a very different mind space now, I'm much better at managing bands, and I don't do like I used to. I think Tony is way more receptive to the new OJ. Right. Yeah. And I apologize profusely. And he did as well. And we just kind of hugged and made up. And I contacted him after that. And I said, we want you back in the band. And he's like, man. Oh my God. He said, let me ask my wife. I don't know if I got it anymore. And she was like, hell yeah, you got it. You better not pass this up.
Dude, I love it.
So now we're a 5-piece, and now I'm kind of singing and playing guitar every once in a while.
I love it, man.
Big old family.
Well, I appreciate you extensively going through this. I do want to shout out, there's a lot of people in this world that suffer from a disease called Tourette's. Mm-hmm. And you, I didn't know that. I didn't know that you had Tourette's, and you've been able to do your thing and live life and be in this band. And how has that affected your life? I want to give some inspiration out there, because I talk about diabetes a lot, and a lot of people don't realize I'm a diabetic. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm a type 1 diabetic. So what would you like to say about that part of your life?
Well, the Tourette's, it's been such a intrinsic part of my DNA, because I've started exhibiting signs when I was maybe 6, right? And it started with blinking, and then so my tics have always been physical. Motor, I never have vocal, and I've always been able to kind of hide them, either under a laugh. Anytime I'm laughing or doing anything like that, I'm ticking at the same time.
Sure, yeah.
But it's always been throat clearing, blinking, and chest flexing. So when I get really stressed, I will tick a lot. You don't want to sit next to me during a W basketball game, because I am constantly ticking. My wife runs me out of the room. Right. But I never got diagnosed until I went to Baylor. I ran into a girl there that I was hanging out with that had the tic that she would rub her hands constantly like this. Right. And she also had massive OCD, because they were kind of like a sister. And she said, won't you go with me, to this meeting I go to? Because she said, because you have Tourette's. And I said, no, the f- I don't. She's like, come with me. And I went, and they diagnosed me, and they was like, oh yeah, you've got 3 or 4 tics. And I was like, oh my God.
What year was that?
93.
Okay, so it's been a long time.
Yeah, I was 18.
Right.
So I was like, how do I manage this? And then I started kind of self-diagnosing how to manage it. And as an older person, I've realized that yoga is the number one fix for this disease. I've slacked off recently, but for the last few years, I've got really heavy into yoga, and just the stretching and the meditation and relaxing and focusing has kind of helped trigger that or train that part of the brain to calm down.
Love it.
So I don't tick nearly as much as I used to. The other thing is that the same portion of your brain that operates, or that where Tourette's lives, is also where the creative mind lives.
Interesting.
Art and music, it's the same part of region of your brain.
Right.
So when I do music, it shuts completely off. If I'm singing, painting, tile work, so my jobs right now are my therapy. So I can't stop doing either, or else I will start ticking a lot. So I have to stay creative. It's like it completely shuts off. Like I can be ticking a lot, but as soon as I open a paint can and start trimming out around a room, like I'll go 2 hours without ticking, because that part of the brain goes, okay, let's focus on the paint and stop focusing on that. So I have to be a creative person so I can kind of manage these tics.
I love it.
But it is manageable. If you have a child that is experiencing this, fret not. You can still be very happy and successful. You don't have to pass it on to your kids. I have 3 kids. One has slight Tourette's, but the other 2, it's fine. So it's just a thing that you can live with, and I've kind of made it part of me.
Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, all right. Tell people where they can buy your merch, where they can learn about where you're going to have your shows.
Yeah. The best place to go is Byzantine WV. That stands for West Virginia. ByzantineWV.com. It is not a full website. It's just called a splash page. So it has a picture of our ugly mugs, and then you can go to our merch site. You can go to our tour dates, or you can just go and contact me directly. And that's the only place you really need to know.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, I love it.
JD's looking at it right now. So if you go down to the bottom, it will have all of our social media links. And then that will just splash you over to another part of the web.
Heck yeah. It looks like around when this episode releases, you'll actually be in New Orleans. This will be I think it's on the 24th is when this episode comes out. So
nice.
Crazy. Then you go into Destin. I hear that's a good vacation spot for people.
Yeah. We've probably only played Florida 4 times in our whole career. So this run we're doing 4 shows in a row. I'm excited about New Orleans because of the food.
Well, when you play next April, I'm going to let me know. I'm gonna block that off. I'm gonna be there
next day. April.
Yeah, you're talking about at the music store.
Yeah.
If the public can go, I'd love to go. Do a video there. That'd be fun. All right, man. Well, thank you, sir. Now, Bandcamp. Do you receive proceeds from Bandcamp? Okay, cool. So, what's the best place to? I mean, they can stream you all anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a Spotify guy.
They don't pay much.
They don't.
Tell me where to stream, and that's where I'll go.
None of them pay much, but Spotify pays the least much. Yeah. And so I like going on to iTunes. So we've got all our music on iTunes. You could go on Amazon. Bandcamp is for actual audiophile nerds. That's where we put up the lossless wave files of everything. So you download it and it's at the highest resolution. But if you want a physical CD, if you still drive an older vehicle that takes a physical CD, you can get it from us right here at ByzantineWV.com.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, thank you for doing this, OJ.
Yeah, man.
It's I've been looking forward to this for a long time. So everybody out there, please check out Byzantine. And if you haven't liked this video, please do that and subscribe to Creepalachia on YouTube. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, take a minute and leave a review. That'll really help the show be found. And we are on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and we do have merch now at creepalachia.shop. And everyone else, please remember, above all else, long live Appalachia.
There we go.